Hello to my entrepreneur friends. I'm going to tell you something today that you're not going to like, and that is this. You are doing too much. We're coming up on New Year's resolution season, and everybody and their brother, including me, is going to be talking about goal setting. And this is the time of year, I think, when we start to get delusions of perfection, delusions that if we start doing all of the things all at once, we're all of a sudden going to be successful come January 1st. Except I think we know by now that that process of thinking, all of a sudden you're going to wake up one day and change all of your habits, all of your beliefs, all of your identities, your mindsets, everything about your business and your money and your relationships, and all of it in one day is not realistic. And so what we're going to talk about today is how and why I know that you as an entrepreneur are doing too much in your business, and how to avoid the New Year's resolution trap to actually be able to make progress versus finding yourself being stuck repeating the same loop, the same cycle over and over and over again. So that this time a year from now, you'll look back and say, oh wow, I actually did make a change. You are listening to the Profit and Prosper podcast, the podcast where I will teach you how to take home a 6-figure paycheck and become a wealthy CEO without having to sacrifice your life today. So I think the hard thing about this idea of doing more and more and more is that I think by definition, if you have decided to run your own business, if you decided to take the entrepreneurship journey in life, by default, we tend to get really excited about new ideas. The hard truth is that it's really hard for me. I definitely suffer from this a lot, is that successful businesses tend to be boring. And I've said this before, I'm going to say it until my dying day, probably. Successful businesses that are profitable, that grow more predictably, that are sustainable, are the ones that result from you taking the time to figure out how to do one thing in your business really well. So how to deliver on one transformation for one type of ideal client, getting good at creating the funnel and all of it from start to finish. And it's going to feel boring because once you find what works, it's not going to require a lot of tweaking. And in fact, the more you tweak it, the more that you get sidetracked in doing all these kinds of different things, the less likely you are to find success in doing the one thing. Actually, a few weeks ago, I was having a conversation with a client, strongly encouraging her to focus on implementing her high-ticket monthly retainer offer. She basically had mapped out her offer suite and wanted to spend a lot of time building out templates and digital products and things to sell. And there's no shade, right? We all love a good promise of passive income, but she also didn't have her retainer full. She also wasn't consistently marketing the retainer. And so I was like, listen, I know that you might feel like it's more exciting to build this out. You might feel like it's quote unquote easier to sell digital products. It's more passive. It doesn't require work, theoretically, right? But you're going to make more money, and you're actually going to make your life a million times easier if you let that go for now. Focus on building out your core business. Focus on building up your MRR. And then you can get to a place where you can hire a team, because she's also a mom. And I promise you, your life will be easier there than it will be trying to start this new thing from scratch, from the ground up. So I'm going to tell you why this is happening to you and why it's so uncomfortable to stay focused on one thing with another handy dandy drawing. So this is called the 4 stages of competence. I'm going to talk you through this, and I'm going to show you where it is that you get distracted and you lose focus and why it feels so difficult. So the first stage in this model is here called unconscious incompetence. That means you have no idea how bad you are at something because you've not even started down the journey of learning about it yet. This is you anytime, and this is me too, full disclosure, I do this all the time. This is you or me anytime that you see something new, you see a new course, you see a new strategy, you see the marketing that talks about, oh, this thing, implement this thing in your business. It's going to be so amazing and so easy, and you're going to make so much money off of it. You feel excited about it. This is unconscious incompetence. You haven't yet dove in to understand exactly what it's actually going to take to implement this thing. And all you see is the grass is greener on the other side. This must be better than what I'm doing now because what I'm doing now really sucks. So what you're going to do is you're going to see, you're down here, right? And you kind of go up this little loop-de-loop and you feel really excited about this thing until you get to stage number 2, which is usually a few weeks to a few months into doing the thing. Stage number 2 is conscious incompetence, meaning conscious, you're aware of how bad you are. You are aware of all the things that you don't know, and you see the mountain. And you see what you got to scale, and it's going to take you a long time, and it's going to be a lot more work than you even began to understand when you first started the thing. And this is where I think many people start to fall off. And so instead of sticking with the one thing and staying focused, you go and you do something else, right? So this little arrow will say you do another one, and then you start on your same journey, and you do the same thing where you find another thing that promises to be exciting and fun and new, and it's going to work out so much better than what you're doing now. So then you do that. How many times have you done this? Like, let's be honest. I have done it like every single year in business. I tell myself I'm going to not fall prey to, but just fall victim, I guess, to doing this. And yet we do, because that is our nature, because sticking with your incompetence long enough to become competent is where I think people fall off. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is really stay focused on the one thing so you can come down this curve to where you become consciously competent. The next step in the 4 stages of competence is conscious competence, where you've finally gotten good. You stuck with it. You learned the new skill. You learned the new strategy. You got it implemented. You did the heavy lifting. And now you feel like you're good at it. You feel like you're getting some traction, but it still takes effort. That's why it says conscious. So it still takes effort because you've gotten it to where it's working, but you still have to put in the reps. If you are able to stick with it past this stage, to where you keep moving up the curve, you keep building confidence at whatever the thing is where you get to the 4th stage, which is unconscious competence. This is where you've been doing it long enough. You've done the reps, you've built the habits, you've built the mindsets, you've built the beliefs, and it is second nature to you now to do the thing. So apply this to literally any goal you have, whether it's business, money, health, relationships, anything. And I bet you're going to see quickly that this point here is where New Year's resolutions fail, where goals fail, where you get distracted. I say this with love, but we have to be real with ourselves as we're coming up on a new year. We have all these big goals for things we want to do. Your path to being a millionaire from your business is going to come from sticking with it through this really tough part. When you're going to feel like you're going down the spiral and it's really hard, keep going, keep taking steps forward. And that is when you're going to get to the other side where things become easier, you make more money, etc. The other thing I want to say is that I think one of our skills as entrepreneurs is our creativity, is our ability to dream really big and have a vision. But just be aware of the balance, I guess, between having that creativity and the vision and, putting things into place in your business and actually getting the work done. I think that creativity, I think learning new things, I think that starting new projects, it can feel like you're making progress if you're not conscious of where you are in the 4 stages of competence and really asking yourself, okay, I'm going to put some energy into creating this new project, but only if I promise to myself that I maintain my baseline of what I need to do in my business to keep things going. But I honestly think that starting new projects, really diving deep into things that feel creative can also be a form of procrastination, again, because you're in that stage where continuing down your original path, putting into place your core business strategy to scale your business feels like the mountain, and it feels more comfortable to go and try something new. Okay, so just be aware of that. And we want to find the balance between allowing the creativity and embracing it, because it absolutely is something I think successful entrepreneurs have, but not allowing yourself to be sidetracked or distracted or pulled off of the main path. Okay, so what do you do if you're like, okay, Sarah, you're speaking to me, I do this. What do you do from here? What I want to encourage you to do is figure out what is the one thing that you need to focus on. So specifically for your business, that could be focusing on one core offer, one core client, one core transformation, and get really, really good at doing that one thing, at serving that client, at selling that one offer. So focus on just one thing. And I think once you master that one thing, then it will be easier for you to be able to explore other income streams, right? I've probably said this a million times before, right? But this whole idea of like millionaires on average have 7 income streams. Millionaires don't become millionaires by having 7 income streams and having their energy and attention and focus being pulled in 7 different directions. They have 7 income streams because they made a lot of money from doing one thing really well. And then they took that money and started diversifying into other income streams. So if you're not there yet, we need to get you where step 1, you're really good at doing the one thing. To me, I would say if I'm not going to make at least 6 figures in take-home pay from my business, I need to focus on growing that business up more. Because to me, I just don't believe that for the energy and effort that you put into a business, if I'm not able to take home $100,000 from that business, I would be so much better served by going off and just getting a job somewhere. So I think step number 1 to take away from this, focus on the one thing until you're able to scale it up and make a good, healthy paycheck from it before we start layering in new stuff. Some people say to get your business to $1 million. I don't know how I feel about that. I would say I want it to be profitable by itself before I go and put my energy into other things. I would love to have 5 things making me $100,000 a piece. Love it. Okay. We're working on it. The other concept I want to bring up is this idea of increasing your baseline. So I think I talked about this when I talked about some health habits that I have and how I had to implement a new sort of minimum baseline level of exercise, of eating, of all the things. And I had to focus on one thing that felt so small, it felt insignificant before incorporating other habits and other things into my routines. And so I think the same thing goes for your business. Currently, full disclosure, my baseline that I'm working on is in content creation, not long form content, because I've been doing this podcast for almost 3 years now, every single week. I feel like I've got that down, but I struggle with consistency in short form content. And so something that I am working on that I always want to tell myself, like, it's not enough to post 3 times a week, right? You got to post every day, blah, blah, blah. But every time I set out to post every day, I fail because I don't have those habits in place. And so thinking in your business, what's the roadblock to you being able to get really good at doing that one thing? And where can you establish your current baseline and then just add like 1 or 2 steps on top of that? Don't try to do a million things at once when you're setting your goals for the new year, because if you don't focus on just one thing, you're going to be pulled in too many directions, and honestly, you're going to fail. I've done it so many times. But you'll be more successful if you just focus on taking 1 step at a time, building up that baseline until that feels easy to do, and then layering something else on top of it. All right, so to summarize, you're doing too much. Focus on one thing. The financial success, the impact, the mastery is going to come from going deep and becoming really good at doing one thing versus the breadth and trying to be good and having too many balls in the air and not being able to maintain them all and having to drop some. So as we go into the new year, ask yourself, what is that one thing that I can really be the best at, that I can serve my clients the best by doing, that I can serve my team and my community the best by doing? And that's what we want to focus on, increasing your baseline level and implementing habits, routines, strategies one at a time to just keep you taking steps toward being that successful millionaire CEO that you want to be. So as we come up on the end of the year, I've seen everybody talking about, let's have the best year ever in 2025. I have decided that I want to take that to another level and not just have the best year ever in 2025, but honestly have 2025 be the year that you look back on as the year that you put the things in place that got you to be a millionaire as a business owner. We're going to start 2025 off with a bang. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, y'all, and I'll see you back next time.